was 28 years old when I told my family I got promoted, and nobody even looked up. We were sitting around the dining table. The one with the scratch near my seat that I'd polished so many times, I could trace its shape with my eyes closed. Saturday lunch, like always. My dad watching baseball from the living room, volume just loud enough to bleed into the kitchen. My mom chasing my nieces around the house, her voice sharp with instructions nobody followed. And Ashley, my older sister, live streaming to her boutique customers from the couch, her phone angled just right to catch the perfect light. I'd spent the morning cooking. Roasted chicken with crispy skin, salad with tomatoes I'd chopped into perfect cubes, homemade rolls still warm from the oven. The cherry pie cooling on the counter was from scratch, lattice top and all. I did this every weekend. Showed up, cooked, cleaned, watched the kids, filled in the gaps. It was just what I did. "I got a promotion," I said, louder than I meant to. "Senior clinical specialist. They're transferring me to Raleigh." The baseball announcers kept talking. Ashley's sales pitch didn't skip a beat. Mom rushed past the doorway without slowing down. I stood there holding a dish towel, waiting for someone to say something. Anything. "Congratulations. That's great." Even a simple, "Oh, really?" would have been enough. Nothing. The food I'd spent hours preparing sat untouched while I felt my announcement dissolve into the air like it had never been spoken. I shouldn't have been surprised. This was the pattern. This was always the pattern. Later, when we finally sat down to eat, my dad complimented the chicken to nobody in particular. Ashley asked me to cut her daughter's food into smaller pieces without looking up from her phone. Mom wanted to know how Ashley's sales were going that day. "The position comes with a 15% raise and a relocation bonus," I said, trying again. "I start in 3 weeks. Ashley's phone chimed. 2,000 in sales already today, she announced, her face lighting up. My parents turned to her with smiles I recognized. The proud, attentive kind. The kind I couldn't remember ever being aimed at me. "That's wonderful, sweetheart," Mom said. "Smart move taking the boutique online," Dad added. I sat there cutting a 4-year-old's chicken into perfect squares, watching my family celebrate Ashley's daily sales number while my career milestone evaporated into silence. The hollow feeling in my chest wasn't anger exactly. It was something colder, more familiar. Disappointment that had calcified into acceptance. This wasn't new. Last Christmas, I'd spent 4 days helping Ashley wrap inventory while she attended holiday parties. 3 months before that, I'd used my vacation days to babysit while she flew to a fashion expo in Cincinnati. 2 weeks before that, I drove Mom to 5 different stores looking for curtains for Ashley's living room. "Ashley has the kids," Mom explained once when I'd made the mistake of pointing out the imbalance. "She needs more help than you do." And that was the truth, wasn't it? Ashley had the kids, the struggling business, the constant crises that kept everyone's attention locked on her. I had nothing that made me essential, except my willingness to show up and solve problems. After lunch, while Ashley filmed her afternoon session and Mom took the girls shopping, I sat at the kitchen counter and opened our family group chat. My thumbs hovered over the screen for a long moment before I typed, "Got my official transfer paperwork today. Moving to Raleigh, North Carolina on the 15th. Promotion to senior clinical specialist. Very excited for this opportunity." I watched the message deliver. One by one, the read receipts appeared. Mom, Dad, Ashley, no responses. I drove home to my apartment across town as the sun set behind me. painting the Ohio sky in shades of orange and pink I barely noticed. My phone buzzed as I unlocked my door, and for half a second, hope flickered in my chest. Mom had posted a photo in the group chat. Ashley's daughter covered in cherry pie, filling smeared across her face like war paint. The caption read, "Someone couldn't wait for dessert." Another notification. Ashley this time. Just hit $2K in sales today. New record. I set my phone face down on my kitchen counter and stood alone in my silent apartment. A tear tracked slowly down my cheek, then another. I didn't bother wiping them away. There was nobody there to notice anyway. Moving day arrived 3 weeks later, with the kind of finality that makes you reconsider everything. The last box slid into the U-Haul with a satisfying thunk. And I stood there in the parking lot of my empty apartment, staring at the locked door. My phone buzzed. Mom's name lit up the screen. "Can you come watch the kids Saturday?" Ashley has a big live stream event. I read it twice, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. 2 weeks since I'd told them I was leaving. 2 weeks of complete silence. And now this. Not a question, but an expectation. I can't. I'm leaving for North Carolina today. I hit send before I could second-guess myself, climbed into the driver's seat, and started the engine. The radio filled the cab with oldies as I merged onto the highway, Ohio disappearing in my rearview mirror. Hours passed. The mountains of West Virginia rose and fell. My phone stayed silent until I crossed into Virginia, 7 hours after I'd left. "What do you mean you're going to North Carolina?" I stared at the text at a rest stop, genuinely unsure if I should laugh or cry. Instead, I put my phone away and kept driving. By the time I reached Raleigh, the sun had set and the air felt different, warmer, cleaner somehow. I hauled my overnight bag up 3 flights of stairs to my temporary apartment and collapsed onto the bed, fully clothed. For the first time in 28 years, nobody knew exactly where I was or what I was doing. The thought felt dangerous and exhilarating in equal measure. 3 weeks later, I'd settled in enough to know which coffee shop made my drink without asking and which route to work avoided the worst traffic. Small victories in unfamiliar territory. I was unpacking the last boxes on a Sunday evening when my phone lit up with a notification from the family group chat. "Family party this weekend. Aunt Susan's 60th. Come early to help set up and watch the kids." I stared at the message, a familiar weight settling onto my shoulders. They'd either completely forgotten I'd moved, or they were pretending to forget. I wasn't sure which was worse. I didn't respond. Saturday came and went. I spent it arranging books on shelves and hanging pictures of places, not people, on my walls. At 3:17 p.m., my phone exploded. "Where are you? Everyone's asking about you. We saved you cherry pie." Then at 5:42 p.m., the real message arrived. "I never thought you'd be this selfish. After everything we've done for you. Your sister had to handle all the kids herself while I cooked. Your father had to help with tables. You've let the entire family down." I waited until after I'd eaten dinner, sitting on my new couch in my new apartment in my new city. Then I called. Mom answered on the first ring. "Finally decided to acknowledge your responsibilities?" "Mom, I moved to North Carolina almost a month ago. I told everyone, multiple times." "Well, you could have reminded us," she sniffed. Your sister was very disappointed. She went on for 5 minutes about the inconveniences my absence had caused, listing them like evidence. Not once did she ask about my apartment, my job, my life. When she paused for breath, I tried again. "The new position is going really well. That's nice, dear. Listen, Ashley's thinking about expanding her boutique and needs some startup money. Since you got that raise, we thought... I have to go, Mom. Someone's at the door. I hung up before she could finish and sat in the silence of my apartment, waiting for the guilt to arrive. The urge to call back, to apologize, to fix things. It didn't come. Instead, I felt something unfamiliar settle into my chest. Lightness. Like I'd been carrying something heavy for so long, I'd forgotten it was there, and only now realized I'd set it down. For the first time in my life, I didn't call back, didn't explain, didn't apologize. I just sat there as the sun set outside my window, painting my living room in shades of gold. My phone buzzed twice more. I didn't check the messages. By morning, the notifications had stopped. And the world, I discovered, hadn't ended. 2 years passed like that, quietly, peacefully, on my own terms. I collected raises and bonuses, built a career that flourished without anyone's shadow over it. Adopted a poodle named Toby, who greeted me like I was the most important person in the world. My condo in North Hills stopped feeling temporary and started feeling like home. The second bedroom became my office, and I lined the walls with certificates and awards nobody could ignore or overlook or attribute to someone else. I had routines now. Morning coffee watching the sun rise, evening walks with Toby at the dog park, weekends that belonged entirely to me. That's where I met Jackson, at the dog park, 3 months after I adopted Toby. He had a beagle named Benji and dark hair streaked with early gray. And he ran a startup that made rehabilitation equipment for people recovering from injuries. He was 33, self-assured without being arrogant. And he listened when I talked about my work like it actually mattered. We started meeting at the park regularly, then coffee, then dinner at a farm-to-table place that had just opened. One evening, we were sitting across from each other at that restaurant when my phone lit up with a notification from the family group chat that had been silent for months. My hand froze above my water glass, that old Pavlovian response tightening my chest. Jackson's eyes flicked to my phone, then back to my face. He didn't ask. I turned the phone face down without reading the message. Sorry, just old patterns trying to resurface. Old patterns have a way of doing that, Jackson said quietly. Doesn't mean we have to follow them. No, I agreed, picking up my fork. We don't. 3 days later, my cousin Ashlyn showed up at my condo with a backpack and a bright smile. At 22, she was doing a cross-country road trip, documenting everything on social media. She was the only family member who'd kept in touch after I left Ohio. Real conversations, not just emergency requests for favors. This place is gorgeous, Willa, she said, looking around my living room with genuine admiration. Toby sprawled across her lap like a furry blanket. Thanks. It took a while to get it right. Mind if I take a photo? This room is seriously magazine-worthy. Go ahead. She snapped a picture, capturing the warm lighting and carefully chosen furniture, then showed me her phone. The caption made my breath catch. At my cousin Willa's home. She's got her own place, a wonderful boyfriend, and a life worth admiring. That's sweet of you, I said, touched. What neither of us anticipated was how fast that photo would spread. By morning, Ashlyn's phone was flooded with notifications. Likes, comments, messages from relatives who'd barely acknowledged my existence before. This is weird, Ashlyn said over breakfast, scrolling through her feed. Aunt Karen wants to know what neighborhood you live in. Uncle Rob is asking if you bought or rent. I sipped my coffee, unsurprised. They never showed this much interest when I announced my promotion. Oh, it gets better? Ashlyn's thumb paused on the screen. Your mom commented, so lovely to see how well our Willa is doing. The hollow feeling I expected didn't come. Instead, I felt oddly detached, like watching strangers discuss someone who merely shared my name. That afternoon, Ashlyn showed me a screenshot that made my eyebrows rise. A private message from Ashley to my mother. Did you see Willa's place? Looks expensive. You should ask about her financial situation. Remember those bonuses? Maybe she could help with our situation. Your sister hasn't changed, Ashlyn said, anger tight in her voice. No, I agreed calmly. She hasn't. That evening, after I'd dropped Ashlyn at her hostel, I told Jackson about the social media storm while we walked our dogs along a tree-lined path. Are you going to respond? He asked carefully. Not planning to reach out first, but if they contact me directly. I trailed off, considering. I'll need to decide how to respond. Jackson reached for my hand. Your boundaries are valid, Willa. Stand by them. I plan to. At 11:43 that night, I was already half asleep when my phone chimed. Mom's name appeared on the screen. How have you been, honey? Your father and I miss you so much. Before I could process the sudden affection after 2 years of silence, another notification appeared. Ashley. So happy you're doing well. Your place looks amazing. My heart rate kicked up as I sat up in bed, Toby lifting his head in concern. 2 years of nothing, and now this sudden interest? The final message landed like a bomb. We already booked flights from Columbus to Raleigh. We'll arrive around noon tomorrow. The kids can't wait to see their aunt. I stared at the screen, suspended between disbelief and a ridiculous flicker of hope. Maybe they'd changed. Maybe they finally saw me. But their timing, right after seeing evidence of my success, told a different story. My phone rang. Jackson's name appeared. I answered. They're coming tomorrow, all of them. Already booked flights. His breath caught. That's sudden. Very. What are you thinking? I considered the question, sorting through the tangle of emotions. I'm thinking they wouldn't be coming if Ashlyn hadn't posted that photo. Probably not, he agreed. If you feel ready, see them. But don't let them make you feel guilty again. As I set my phone down, I realized my hands weren't shaking. The panic I would have felt 2 years ago had been replaced by something cooler, more calculated. They were coming to my territory now, my life, my rules. The doorbell rang at 12:15 the next day. I counted to 10 before answering, a small act of control that steadied my racing pulse. Willa. Mom surged forward, wrapping me in a hug so tight I could smell her familiar perfume. Oh, sweetheart, it's been too long. 2 years and 3 months, to be exact. I returned her hug with measured pressure, neither pulling away nor melting into it. Dad stood behind her with a bakery box. Hey, kiddo. His one-armed hug was brief, his eyes already darting past me toward the TV mounted on my wall. Games on today? Bengals playing. Ashley appeared last, her daughters racing past her into my condo before I could even say hello. Your place is gorgeous, she said, air kissing my cheek. The girls are so excited to see their aunt. The girls who barely knew me because their mother never bothered to maintain our connection. We brought cake, Mom announced. Chocolate, your favorite. Strawberry shortcake had been my favorite since I was 7. I wondered if she genuinely didn't remember, or if this was just another small erasure of who I actually was. Thank you. Let me put on some tea. In the kitchen, I heard the TV click on, followed by Dad's satisfied grunt as he found the game. The girls' voices rose as they raced around my living room, their sneakers thudding against my hardwood floors. From the corner of my eye, I watched one of them grab a crystal paperweight Jackson had given me for my birthday. Amelia, I called out, my voice calm but firm. Please put that back where you found it. Ashley laughed, high and nervous. Oh, they're just exploring. Kids, you know. I know they should respect other people's things. In my home, we don't touch what doesn't belong to us. Surprise flickered across her face. The girl carefully returned the paperweight, casting a wary glance my direction. Mom wandered into the kitchen, running her finger along my granite countertop. This must have cost a fortune. Your place is so extravagant. I like my home, I said simply. The company must pay you very well, Ashley added, leaning against the door frame. I placed cookies on a serving plate, taking my time. Competitive. But are we talking 6 figures? Her voice was casual, but her eyes were sharp. Do you get bonuses? Stock options? The benefits are excellent. Shall we sit in the living room? Ashley's questions continued through tea. Does my company match 401k contributions? How much is my mortgage? Did I put 20% down? Each query designed to assess exactly how much money I might have access to. With each non-answer, her fingers tapped faster against her cup, her smile growing tighter. Dad, I said during a brief lull, how's your volunteer work with the youth baseball league? The shift worked. For 10 minutes, conversation flowed around safer topics. But I noticed how Ashley's shoulders tensed with each passing moment that didn't involve my finances. When her oldest daughter knocked over a vase of fresh flowers, sending water across my coffee table, I stood immediately. Girls, in this house, we sit calmly on furniture. We don't run or jump on the sofa. Willa, Mom began, that familiar tone of correction in her voice. They're just being children, I know, and children need boundaries. I handed each girl a book from my shelf. Here, these were my favorites when I was your age. Mom's mouth hung open, clearly unused to me setting terms in any interaction. Ashley's smile had completely vanished, replaced by a tight line of frustration. You've changed, Mom said finally, setting down her teacup with a small clink. Yes, I agreed simply. The room fell silent, except for the baseball game and the soft sound of pages turning as the girls, surprisingly, settled into reading. Ashley exchanged a look with Mom, one I recognized from years of family dynamics. The signal that it was time to reveal the real purpose of this visit. Mom leaned forward, her practiced sigh filling the room. Willa, sweetheart, Ashley's been struggling. And there it was. The boutique. Ashley jumped in, voice tight with rehearsed emotion. After 5 years in retail, I thought I was ready. The story unfolded like a script they'd practiced in the car. Ashley opened her own boutique after years working for someone else. The initial investment came from my parents. The business failed within 8 months. The personal guarantee she'd signed on the commercial lease left her owing $39,000 in debt. My parents' retirement savings were already strained from helping with the startup. They all leaned forward, a united front. Mom's eyes wide with concern. Dad's expression solemn. Ashley's lower lip trembling perfectly on cue. "You're doing so well," Mom said, her voice dropping to that special tone she used when she wanted something. "You could sell your condo and help your sister." "You have a boyfriend with money," Dad added. "You don't need 2 homes." They'd been here less than an hour and already knew about Jackson. Someone had done their research. "Think about the girls," Ashley said, glancing toward her daughters. "Help your sister, and the children will have their mother back. I'm barely sleeping with all this stress." The hollow feeling spread through my chest, that familiar sensation, but one I now recognized for what it was. Not heartbreak, clarity. I watched them with new eyes, seeing the performance for exactly what it was. Their sudden appearance in my life after years of silence, the effusive greetings, the probing questions, all of it calculated for this moment. A memory surfaced. Standing in my parents' kitchen announcing my promotion, the words evaporating into nothing. Another, texting about my move and receiving photos of Ashley's children eating pie in return. Years of being overlooked until I became useful again. Ashley misinterpreted my silence as hesitation. "It's not like we're asking for a handout. I'll pay you back eventually." "This is what family does," Mom added, reaching for my hand. "We help each other through hard times." "Your mother and I won't be around forever," Dad said, eyes darting between the TV and my face. I took a slow breath, feeling the weight of their expectations pressing against me like a physical force. But for the first time in my life, I didn't bend beneath it. "I'll think about it," I said finally. The first cracks appeared in their united front. Ashley's cheeks flushed. Mom's smile faltered. Dad's attention returned fully to the game. "What's there to think about?" Ashley demanded. "We're family." "Yes," I said quietly. "We're family." But I was finally beginning to understand what that word really meant, and more importantly, what it didn't. I sat perfectly still, my calm exterior a shield over the storm inside. 2 years of distance had given me perspective, and now, facing them again, I recognized the familiar weight of their expectations settling onto my shoulders. They waited for my answer with the certainty of people who'd never contemplated rejection. "I've helped before," I said finally, my voice even and steady. "I've tried for years to be heard, to be loved. All I ever got in return was silence and expectation." I looked directly at my mother, then my father, finally resting my gaze on Ashley. "I'm done." Ashley's cheeks flushed pink. "But we're family. You can't just—" "That word," I interrupted, the first time I could remember cutting off my sister. "Family. It should mean care and respect, not debt collection." The words fell from my lips with a certainty I'd never felt before. If being family only means I keep paying for everyone's mistakes, then no. I'm not part of that version of family anymore. My father shifted uncomfortably, mouth opening, then closing, words forming and dying before they reached his lips. My mother's eyes filled with tears, carefully measured to fall at precisely the right moment. "After all we've done for you," Ashley said, voice rising, "you're choosing money over your own family. Remember when I helped you move into your first apartment? Remember all the birthdays, the Christmases?" "Mom and Dad won't be around forever, Willa," my mother added, voice thick with emotion. "Is this how you want things to be?" I watched them deploy each weapon from their arsenal of guilt, recognizing the pattern like a familiar dance. They were performers who'd practiced this routine for decades, and for the first time, I saw the choreography clearly. We wouldn't ask if we weren't desperate, my father finally managed. I took a slow breath. When I got my promotion 2 years ago, I told everyone at Saturday lunch. No one looked up from what they were doing. I kept my voice level, recounting facts rather than emotions. I sent a message to our group chat about moving to Raleigh. Everyone read it. No one responded. Last year on my birthday, my phone didn't ring once. When I called Mom that evening, she said she'd been busy helping Ashley with the boutique opening. My family sat in uncomfortable silence as I laid out the evidence. 3 Christmases ago, I spent 4 days helping Ashley wrap inventory. 2 summers ago, I used my vacation days to watch the kids while she went to that fashion expo. For years, I've been your babysitter, your extra wallet, your convenient helper. I kept my gaze steady. And now, after 2 years without a single meaningful call or message, you're here because you need money. Ashley opened her mouth to object, but I continued. The last time we spoke, Mom, you hung up on me when I tried to tell you about my new job. That was the moment I realized what I was to this family. I stood slowly, walking to the front door. I think that's enough for today. The sudden finality of my words sent a visible shock through them. They gathered their belongings awkwardly, no one quite meeting my eyes. Mom clutched her purse to her chest like armor. Dad moved with the stiffness of someone navigating unfamiliar territory. Ashley herded her daughters toward the door, their earlier exuberance subdued by the tension. As they filed past me, Ashley paused at the threshold. "I didn't think you'd become so cold," she said. The words meant to wound. I met her gaze directly. I didn't become cold. I became clear. I closed the door behind them with a soft click that echoed through my apartment. Standing motionless in my entryway, I breathed slowly, feeling something release in my chest. A weight I'd carried for so long, I'd forgotten it was there. No dramatic tears came. No urge to scream or throw things. Just quiet certainty that I had, finally, done what was necessary for myself. My phone buzzed in my pocket, the first of what would likely be a barrage of texts. Without looking, I silenced the notifications. For the first time in my life, I felt no compulsion to explain or justify myself. No need to answer immediately.